So Monday was Dragon Gate's biggest event of the year, Kobe World, and with it we saw the end of many storylines that have been built up for the past 6 to 7 months, while also starting to see new ones that will go on throughout the latter half of the year and in the early next year. But most importantly, we saw the start of a new era in the company as it enters this next half of the year. So let's not waste any more time and talk about what was Kobe World 2026. Starting out with the advanced bout, we have an undercard all-star match full of all the people who couldn't make it onto the main Kobe card. This includes Kung Fu Masters, who I believe for the first time since their existence aren't on the main card for Kobe, as well as Tristan Moody making his Kobe World debut. And if you don't know who that is, that's the winner of the tryouts back in April when Dragon Gate went to America. Not much in terms of story here, but we got a Ho-Ho Loon win. Moving on to the first official match of the card, we basically have a young guys expedition between 4 of the newest members of the roster. This is Kimura, Mochizuki Jr. versus Ryu Fuda and Aki. All 4 of which are in a interesting place right now, as they are all really the lowest members on the totem pole when it comes to their unit. And that's what they're going out here to prove tonight, that they deserve to be in the conversation with the rest of their unit in the company. While there's also not much storyline outside of that, we have the continuation of the Junior versus Ryu Fuda rivalry that continues over who's the better student of Mochizuki Sr. as we get into a bunch of kick contests basically, which ends with, of course, a really good kick by Ryu Fuda, but overall the match would end after Junya gets the pin on Aki. As for what's next for these 4, who can say? Kimura's working with Ryora now in his new unit. Junior's still at the bottom of Love and Peace, even though Benkei is out with an injury in Ryu Fuda, and then Aki is now lost in the shuffle along with Natural Vibes, but we'll have to see what happens there. The biggest question here is still Ryu Fuda, who's been out of the unit for almost a year now. Luckily, with 2 units starting up, I think Ryu Fuda may have a place to go soon. After some interesting meetings with representatives of the Sekihara Trading Company, Jiro Jimbashi was given a summer bonus by Ryo Saito. That bonus, of course, being his death, as he would be facing legendary shoot fighter Funaki in this match at Kobe. Now, not much to say regardless of storyline, as it is just a Jiro Jimbashi big show match, basically. But what's important to know is that he died, then respawned, then died again. Funaki wins. I don't know what you want me to say. And with that, it's time for our first big match of the night, as we crown the 100th Triangle Gate champions in Dragon Gate's lineage, basically. And this match is interesting because it could lead to multiple different outcomes, but the most important thing to know when going into this match is Strong Machine J has been hinting at, or maybe even just playing with us on the fact that he may turn soon on Vibes, or that Vibes may turn on KZ, but more on that later, as we do have a new Vibes intro. It's not as good as the others I've heard online, but I do enjoy the fact that they have J and KZ both rapping. It's just a nice thing to see, in my opinion. And other than that, we also have Feral Hyo appearing for the second time this year after Best of the Super Junior, for no bit more reason than he just kind of thinks this is a big deal and should probably be here. Moving on. If you didn't expect anything else than an absolute banger of a match between these 2 units, I don't know what you were expecting. In terms of quality, this is probably one of, if not the best match of the night, which makes sense for what these two units are and their history against one another. Bodies flying everywhere, Rita doing that barrel roll move that I can't remember the name of, and overall just a really fun match I think you should watch. And of course, if you haven't seen it yet, 11 Piece do end up taking the win here, leading to a very emotional end of the match, but not for 11 Piece, but for Vibes, as we see Yuchi, UT, and Jay all just kind of laying on the mat and later outside the ring crying and just generally looking sad and giving a sad vibe, pun intended. And this brings up the question again, what is next for Vibes and SMJ? We'll have to find out later though. Let's move on to the next match. Speaking of what's next, let's talk about Shun Skywalker's final Kobe World match and also the Saipatra reunion. And what I mean by talk about is there's not really much to talk about here, as it was really an okay-ish match, as with all of Shun's kind of final run matches, in my opinion. But hey, give the guy some credit, he's been doing this off and on for 10 years now. Either way, Shun wins this match along with Saipatra, and this is interesting because Saipatra shouldn't reform, but because Johnny wasn't there when they disbanded, it doesn't matter. Who's gonna tell Johnny no? But really all this means in terms of storyline is, what are Johnny and Cielo gonna do now in DG, now that Shun's not gone, but about to be gone? There's still the Cielo versus Kata storyline going on, but where that's at right now is up in the air as well. And for Johnny, who knows, maybe 11 Piece. And similar to the Shun Skywalker Saipatra reunion match, Yamato's first 20th anniversary match, or the Unks vs. Unk match as I like to call it, is also in that kind of vein of not really much happening storyline-wise. I will say it was cool seeing all the old Torimon guys walk out when the Torimon team made their entrance, but overall there's nothing really here, and Yamato will get a much bigger role later on the show. After that we had intermission, and once we came back from that, we finally got the announcement for Reyde Parejas 2026, which is to start August 4th at Corkin Hall, which is less than 10 days from now, oh god. But they would announce the teams on Twitter, and they have been for the past few days ever since then. I may make a video about that, I may not. You know Guts 12, so whatever. Moving on!